Good day, everybody. Today we're going to go through your creditors and your financials. So, without further ado, let's go straight over to Christine.
Welcome, everybody. Creditors are actually a continuation of what we have been learning through this week. By doing your ordering and your receiving of your parts and your consumables, you are automatically doing your creditors. So if I go to my creditors, month summary and lists, month purchase summary, and I look for my Harmon, because that is who we ordered our parts from yesterday, you will see that our invoice and our RFC that we made yesterday is actually on here already. So what is the screen that I am looking at this point in time? In this particular case, because I have used suppliers to cash ticked, it is including all my suppliers, including my cash ones and my creditors, and it is telling me that on all my invoices that I have put into Dr. Smash, minus my RFCs, that is how much money I have actually spent on creditors so far this month. When I highlight a particular supplier, everything that is on this side is added up, and that is where your total actually comes for what you have spent with that supplier for this month. All right. So this is where your answers are actually coming through for creditors. But let's go up to our queries, suppliers, and start at the beginning. So we go to our Harmon, we edit our supplier, right, company name, address, phone numbers, fax numbers, email addresses, all are self-explanatory. I don't need to go into too much detail about that. But the big screen that I do need to go into is your discount supplier details. Right. Your account number with the supplier, what account number has Harmon given you? So I can say it is DS as in Dr. Smash and 001. Whatever it is that they have actually given us. What discount do we receive for being a panel beater? It can be your 20%, your 17%. In our case, we have written it up and said that it is 17%. But that is what's going to come through on when we are placing our order. It takes off 17% off of our quoted price and tells us what our net should actually be. Our normal terms, this is where we differentiate between a creditor and a cash supplier. A creditor means you are not paying them immediately. You are either paying them in 30, 60, or 90 days. So that becomes a creditor. Your cash is you're paying them immediately, and they are not actually a creditor per se. Right, so in our case, Harmon is we pay them within 30 days. Our settlement discount, what settlement discount are we going to be offered? It is 2.5%. And then our we actually have to pay it within 30 days, right? And then with Harmon, what do they normally supply? They normally supply our OEM parts, but you have your list of items that they could actually be supplying. Your supplier is a VAT registered. If you tick that, whenever you do your orders and receiving, VAT will automatically be added onto it. If you untick it on this particular supplier and this one only, you will not have VAT coming through. So if they are not VAT registered, you would untick this. If it happens to be a tow company, you would tick to say that they are a tow company. so that when you go to your admin, tow and control, and you go to your tow companies, it will come up on that list because it now knows that they are a tow company. Do not use the supplier. It's just a format of deleting, because you can't delete a supplier. You might not be using them anymore, but you did use them. So if you go back on 3-year-old data and you look at a 3-year-old job and you have deleted the supplier, it's now going to come up and say supplier record not found, and you're not going to know where you actually purchased that part. So this is your delete button. It allows you to for it not to come up onto the lists, but it is still on your in your database so that you can look back at old jobs. Try and not to use a supplier. Is you are basically stating that their prices are generally too high. You don't want your buyer to actually buy from them for whatever reason you might actually have, but you are not preventing them. They are still on the list. They just come up with a color, I think it's a yellow, that they actually come up with, and it says that you don't really want to actually use them if possible. All right, with pastel account number is on the financial side of things. We do have the facility of actually being able to export your information from Dr. Smash straight into pastel. So it now needs to know that any creditor that you, or any invoice you put against Harmon, where do you want it to go in your pastel account? So what is that account number in pastel? Right, reconcile and other details. These are actually for Dr. Smash generally. It's you should never need to really go into the screen much. But what I did want to show you is your credit limits. We can say, watch this credit limit. So we tick it. And our supplier's credit limit is anything, if it starts getting into 10,000 Rand, it will, it must tell us when we start approaching the 10,000 Rand mark so that we can keep an eye as to what is going on. Right, so let's edit a standard credit percentage, and literally it is saying 10,000 is our limit, but when it starts getting into what percentage, I'm going to say 20%. When it starts reaching 20% of 10,000, it will start to turn yellow, so that you can see that you are approaching your credit limit. Then what will happen is, so I'm just guessing, if from 8,000, it starts turning yellow. When it reaches 10,000, it will then turn red and tell you that your credit limit has actually been reached. Right, so we have set that now. You have also got BEE in Dr. Smash as well, where for each supplier, you can go in and put in your supplier's BEE statuses, and you can put in their BEE certificates, and you also have their expiries of their certificates. And this is so that once a year, when you have to do your BEE certificate, you can actually say, this is how much I have bought from a level 5, and this is how much I bought from a level 4, and it will actually give you the breakdown of all your different levels and how much money you have spent at each one of those different levels. So that is what your BEE status is actually all about. It just helps you at the end of the year for doing your BEE credits. Right, notes and comments. Blank screen, you can write whatever you want on there, that's up to you. Right, staff of the supplier, Remember when we were doing our orders, we actually wanted to know who we were actually placing orders with. And this is where you go and you put in your staff of the employee, staff of Harmon, sorry, right? So we just go into our add a new record, right? It's Mr. Surname, whatever, right? If your first name is Gary, if he has his own cell phone number, fax number, or his own email address, you fill these in, and his position that he holds is actually a clerk there. Right. So we click on OK. And he's now been actually added on to our staff of Harmon. Right. We also have the facility of going to have a look at the invoices from the supplier. So this is another place for you to have a look at every single invoice for this supplier. We have only done our Harmon from this week that we have looked at, but you can have a look at it via a date range. You click on your date range and you set your date range. You can send the listing to, you can do what you need to, but it gives you a list of what you have actually, what invoices you have received from Harmon if you need to. So it's just a way of just looking up what's going on their system. Right, so that is how you add on all of your suppliers. And this is where the computer is getting all of its information from, is from your queries suppliers. Right, so if I untick my use suppliers set to cash, you see how my figures have actually all changed, except for the supplier one, because that will never change, because that is how much that particular supplier actually is. So on my creditors, I have actually only spent 10,000 Rand on actual physical creditors. The rest of mine have actually all been suppliers set to cash, and where I pay cash on it on the spot. Right, so that figure is what you should have in your bank so that you can pay your creditors within your 30 days. So that it gives you an idea as to what you need. Okay, so let's close this down now. Right, so all your ordering and receiving automatically goes into creditors. So the only thing that your creditors person really should be doing is reconciling your statements. On the 1st of every month, you start receiving your statements because they would have run their month end on the last day of the month, and they start sending out their statements on the 1st. So as you start receiving the statements, you go to creditors, reconcile statements. A list of all of your creditors actually comes up. This will be everybody that has your 30 days, 30, 60, or 90 days actually ticked. They come up onto this list. Whether you have purchased from them or not, they come up onto this list. Right, so if I have a look at my Harmon, right, and I put in my date as the 30th of the 4th, right, you will see my invoice that I made yesterday has actually come up, and my ROC that I made has actually come up as well. Right, so it is automatic. It goes straight into the creditors reconcile as to what is actually happening. It is telling us that these are the invoices that we have received, and these are the ROCs that we are waiting for credits for. Now, I am actually going to close this one down, and I'm going to go into Auto Boys. Right, okay, so on this one, you can see a little bit better as to what is actually happening. You can now see what is actually happening a little bit better on the Auto Boys. Auto Boys have sent you a statement. Last month, their statement balance was 73,000. And then they have now said that you now owe them all of these invoices. And if there were any RFCs would actually have come up here. And we have a couple of other things that have actually happened throughout this month. Right, so the first thing you need to do when you go into your creditors recon is the first place you go is your statement date. On the statement, because you're physically working off of their statement, they have a date that they ran the statements on. So we're going to say the 30th. And then they have a total as to what you actually owe. So I'm going to say that I owe 35,600. So now what you need to do is you don't balance. This top section here becomes a rewrite of their statement. On their statement, they say that you owe invoice number 1342. So you find 1342 and you double click on it. Yes, I agree with you. I do owe you 1342. It is now put it up at the top here. They also say that you owe 1185 and you double click on it. And you are literally rewriting their statement into this top block so that at the end of it, you can now get to your difference must be 0 so that you actually balance. So I'm going to say that, yes, I owe for that. They owe for that one. And then on there, they have now passed me a credit. It was for an invoice that was on their previous statement, but it wasn't actually for us. It was not for our account that we asked for last month. And this month, they have now passed us the credit for it. So we click on it. We click on the contra and we throw it up to the top. And it's now saying that they have passed us the credit for that particular invoice. It was part of their 73, but they have now passed us a credit for it. Right, so we carry on going through, writing up whatever it is that they've done. There might be an invoice actually on their list that you know nothing about. So you want to request a copy of this invoice. So you click on request copy invoice. All you know about this invoice is the number that they have actually given you. So it is 2502/00001341. All right. And it was for an amount of exactly 5,000 Rand. Okay, so it now puts it on this side, and you, to be able to balance back to their statement, you need to throw it up to the top. So you're saying that, yes, I acknowledge there is a line on your statement that says about 5,000 Rand, but I don't know anything about that invoice, so I am requesting a copy of it. Right, you carry on going through, having a look at what their statement is, and they have finally said, you know what, you've actually sent us your check. We have received your check. You haven't made your payment, so you double click on it, and that throws it up to the top as well. And they have actually, no, they haven't. They haven't passed us our discount. They forgot to do the 2.5% discount for October. Right, and we carry on going through, doing your statement onto the system as to what we actually owe. Right. Okay. Then we also have other buttons along the side here. We have done a request a copy invoice. As I said to you, there was one particular transaction where last month we said that it wasn't for our account, and that is what do not pay an invoice is all about, or not for our account. Either it's not for your account, it's to go to somebody else, or you are making up there is a reason why you are not paying it because they promised you that they weren't going to charge you for it, or whatever your reasoning actually is. You can choose one of these two buttons, but they both do exactly the same thing. You click on it and it gives you your invoice number and the total. So you can type those in, right? Not for our account, exactly the same as well. Invoice number 1563 for 2,000 Rand was actually not for our account. We throw it up to the top because it is written on their statement. So we need to actually get this top section here to actually balance. Right. And if there were any RFCs, okay, so let's go to show all. No, right, show all will allow you to look at any RFCs that have actually been made. Right, I am actually going to quickly go in and make an RFC for one of these items. Stored, return for credit, add a new RFC. It was LD Auto Boys. Show all my invoices, and I'm going to say that one there, and I'm going to RFC the whole invoice. Post and commit, and right, put in my user ID. Right, so there's our RFC that has actually been made. So I'm going to close that down. Right, if I go to my show all button, it has now come up. This is an RFC that I have actually asked for. If they have passed me the credit, I would actually throw it up to the top. If they haven't passed me the credit yet, it will still stay down at the bottom here. Right, so I'm going to throw it and say that they actually no. I'm going to bring that back. Right, I have asked for a RFC of 5,720 Rand, but they have actually short paid my RFC. They've only given me 3,000. So I can now put in my 3287. I'm just going to put in the words RFC in front of that, and I want 3,000. Right. Right. So I can now do my short. I do my 5,7. I throw it up to the top, and I do my they've short done my RFC of 2,000 Rand. Right, so I'm throwing up the original one, and then I am saying that next month I want 3,000 Rand to actually still come through on my RFCs because they have short paid me by that 3,000 Rand. So in theory, they have actually only done my invoice, my RFC for the 2,720 Rand and 62 cents. Does that make sense as to what I've actually done? Right. Okay, just to get myself to balance, they have also told me I owe that invoice there. and that invoice. And for some reason, for something along the line, when you phone them, you speak to them, they have turned around and told you that there is a journal entry. They have charged you interest or whatever reason it actually is. This is where your journal entries can actually come into play. What is your reference? Right, and it is for 26 Rand and 59 cents. Is there VAT on it? You decide. And then your details was charged interest. And we click on OK. And we now throw that up to the top. Right, so I have now balanced to my 35,600 Rand. I have told them exactly, or I have rewritten their statement and have agreed with them as to how they got to 35,600 Rand. But what's going to happen now is when I use my post and commit button at the bottom here, it's going to come up and tell me that I do not owe them 35,600 Rand, because there were certain things like there was a copy invoice required, there was a short payment of an RFC, there was there were different things that actually we had put through on the system that we are not happy with. So it's going to tell me I owe them a lot less than 35,000. It is also going to tell me anything in these two blocks here are going to get subtracted off of the 35,600 Rand. So it's telling me that I should have got a settlement discount of 2.5% for the month of September. So it's going to take it off of here. And then if there were any RFCs that I've asked for and they still have not passed the credit for, it's going to keep taking those amounts off of here as well. Now, these invoices here are invoices that they have charged you, but at this point do not appear actually on their statement. So you don't need to pay them at this point because they're not asking for you to pay it. Right, okay, so before I click on my post and commit, I just want to go through all these other buttons. Depending on how your defaults have actually been set, as to whether you have a strict control over your creditors or whether we have a relaxed control over your creditors. Strict means they cannot order a split PIN on Dr. Smash without you knowing about it. It has to actually, that invoice has to go through your ordering, your receiving, and putting it actually into the Dr. Smash reconciliation. The relaxed means all your add buttons come up at the bottom here, and you can actually add on things as and when you need it to actually get yourself to actually balance. Obviously, relaxed is not the best way as a manager that you want your company to actually run. So the strict way is the best. Mine is set at this point in relaxed, and the reason for I can see that it's relaxed is my add buttons are here, and also I can edit my balance carried forward figure. You should not be editing the balance carried forward because that is what their balance was at the end of last month. You balanced to their 73,000. You should not be needing to change it. But under relaxed, we do have the facility where you can go in and change it if you need to, but it's not advisable. Yeah, so just be careful about doing those things. Request copy invoice, I have shown you, I've shown you those. Short paid check is exactly the same as your RFC, where Dr. Smash When you do your reconciliation, Dr. Smash, in this case, let's just say that it says that we should be owing 34,000. It automatically assumes that we will be writing a check for 34,000 Rand. Cash flow doesn't always say that we can write a check for 34,000 Rand. So we might have actually only paid them 20,000 instead of what Dr. Smash said we should have paid them. So that is where our short paid other check comes in, is you would highlight the check, say short paid, and say what you did actually pay, so that you know that you still owe them the 14,000, which is going to come off of your payment so that the 14,000 is actually, added on to what you now owe them this particular month. All right. Okay, I've done your short paid RFCs and your journal entries. Right, printing out. If you are stuck and you cannot get this to balance, you can print out your balancing help. It just allows you to put it all that you have on here on paper, because a lot of people prefer to work on paper than they do actually on a screen, because it's backwards and forwards and up and down and scrolling and that type of thing. So we have the facility of printing out our balancing help, and it literally will rewrite what is in this top section so that you can go through and tick it against this actual physical statement. Right, reprint balancing reports is you wanted to see how you balanced last month, how you got to that 73 last month. You can reprint last month's balancing report so that you can check your information and that type of thing to help you do it. Right, because I am in relaxed mode, I also have a payment and a discount button, where if I'm wanting to actually add on another payment and it hasn't gone through the system properly, I can just click on payment, find my month that I'm wanting to do, say if it's for September, and say that I paid them a check of 23,000, 2,300 or whatever. Right, and I click on my OK save, and it will now put in a payment detail actually onto the system. So you can actually do that. But if you have made a transaction and it has come up in this block here, you can delete payments. You can't, but all the other ones, your short page and those, if it comes up in red, like my other ones did, as we did a do not pay an invoice and not for our account, if they come up in red, you can actually go through and use your delete button. Right, so in perfect scenario, this does happen occasionally, is you've made a line, you've made a mistake, it won't let you delete it. So I now need to go in and do a journal entry. Mistake 23123. There's no VAT on that. All right. And I say contra payment made in error. Right. Okay, so let's throw the two up. All right. Okay, so that is how you can correct any mistakes that you have actually made if you need to. Right, so now let's go to our post and commit. Okay, as I say, I don't know my data very well, but what has actually happened in this case is they have, in their defaults, they have actually gone through and said that nobody is allowed to make a journal entry, or they can make the journal entries, they can get it all to balance, but the manager actually has to go in and authorize it. So I'm going to go to my admin, my management, stores, and our journal entries to pass. Right, there's the two that I did. So I want to edit right, this journal is okay, right, yes, I'm happy with it. Don't like the fact that they charged me interest, but okay, right, it's okay, yes, they made a mistake, they've corrected themselves, so that's fine. So your journal entries, depending on how your defaults are set, as to whether you need somebody to actually confirm that the journal entries are allowed to be made, or you can do it that your accreditors clerk can do journal entries as and when they want without anybody checking up on them. Right, so person commits again. So even though these people have relaxed, they're not that relaxed. Right, so at this point, it tells us that we actually owe 24,000. We balanced to 35,600, but with all of our different things that we've actually taken off, it has now given us a payment of 24,000. Right, if we had put in our settlement discount of that 2.5, remember we put it into Harmon, and I am now looking at LD Auto Boys, so that is why it has not come up. But LD Auto Boys does not have a settlement discount put through, but it would have automatically have worked out your 2.5% actually on that 24,000. If you are not happy with it, you can actually write in your own figure as to what you want it to actually be. So if you do find that it hasn't put it in, you can. Then you have a discount too. That is generally used for your, if I remember correctly, it's for your painting where you get deposits back or things like that. You can actually use that discount too for that. I think it's Afrox gas and things like that that actually give you a second discount. But the facility is actually there for you to be able to write in what that second discount is that they have given you. Right, I am going to print out the two reports so that you can have a look, but at this point you can print them out separately, and then you go to your commit when you are finished and said, right, I agree, I'm actually only going to pay you 23,000, so let's go to commit. This is our balance up report. It is a rewrite of their statement. It is showing you what you did to actually balance back to that 73,000. No, the 35,600. Sorry, figures are getting in my way here, getting tongue-tied. Right, so I have now balanced to their 35,600, and this is what I am taking off of that money. The discount was not credited for September. I require a copy of that invoice of 5,000. This invoice is not for our account. Please can they credit? And they were short on the RFCs for that 3,000. So please can they pass me a credit for that? So therefore, I actually owe that amount of money minus any settlement discount gives me a payment required of that. So that is how you arrived at that figure. Right, okay, so let's not print. That is for your file. And then this one that comes up now is actually for your suppliers. Right, print it. You see, it allowed me to do it into a PDF so that I can actually email it to my supplier. Right, puts in all of their details. It says your statement with the 35,000. I agree, I owe you the 35,000, but this is why I'm not paying you 35,000. And it tells them exactly how you got to that figure of 23,000 that you are actually paying now. Make it as a PDF and email it off. Right. What's going to happen now is because I have actually reconciled that and I have committed it, it has disappeared from this list because I have finished with it for the month. And the idea behind this is to get all of your supplier statements to actually be, there must be no supplier statements on this list at all. So you go in and you reconcile all of your creditor statements. Once this list is empty, and generally that is normally done by about the 25th of every month, or you like to have it done by the 25th, so that you can start organizing payments and getting the money in and that type of thing. You would do what we call a creditors run. Right. So that would go your creditors, and then you go to creditors run. It's not going to allow me to do it now because I have creditors that have not actually been done. So it won't allow me to do it. But what it will do is it goes through, it prints out a check required listing so that every supplier, it will come up with a list of what you were supposed to be paying them, with the net and your VAT figures and things like that actually on it as well. And it will have your settlement discounts actually on it, so that you can got all the figures that your accountant generally require for writing up all of your checks and things like that for you. Right. And when you are doing your creditors recon, let's go back into my Harmon. I can, as I start receiving my statements, I start doing the work actually on the reconciliation. I find that there is a copy invoice, and I ask for it, and I phone the supplier straight away, and the supplier is very good and sends it straight away to me. What you would do is you would normally go through the normal process of doing your ordering and your receiving, and it will come up onto here, and at a later stage you can go through and finish all your creditors recons. So if at any stage you've got it all to balance, you're happy, but you don't want to do your post and commit as yet, you're waiting for a couple of bits of information to come through, obviously we have your close and save the recon down at the bottom, so that you can save all your recons, be able to do what you need to do with them, but then on the last day go through and commit all of them so that they are now finished. Right. Creditors is basically done. If you're looking up information, that's your month summary and lists, and the best place to look it up is under your month's purchase summary, but we have actually done that already. You have also got your month's summary and month listing. Remember when we were placing those orders, and I said to you that it has the allocation where we can do for spares and whether it's paint work or a workshop or that type of thing. This is where the information actually will come through. So let's go in and select November, right? And you will see that the order that I made yesterday, you might not, it will be in the figures that actually come up here. But it now gives you the breakdown of what your allocations actually are as to what you have spent so far this month. Now, this one includes your creditors as well as your cash suppliers. So, but it gives you your complete breakdown as to what you have actually done. Right. Those are your purchases, your RFCs, so therefore, that is what you have actually spent and how that money has actually been broken up. Right. That is really creditors. There shouldn't be much more to actually show you on creditors. You have got all your different creditor reports. If you want to do your purchases, these are a list of all the different types of reports you can get for your purchases. You can do reprints, which is like that check required listing. let's show you what a check required listing looks like. Right, so these are the suppliers that I'm actually going to be paying. This is the physical check I am actually writing out, but this is what the net figures actually are. You'll see a couple of them is that Allen's actually owe us money because we have actually overpaid them. It has kept track of the fact that we have actually overpaid them. So our check is 0, but next month it will come up and say, you still owe me, you still owe me, and you can see who still owes you money at this point. Right, your VAT content, and if there were any settlement discounts, they would actually come through here as well. Right, so that's your check required listing. Yeah, you've got your orders. We were talking about ex-factory, so we can list all the orders that are actually ex-factory if we want to. We can have a look at all outstanding orders for a particular supplier. So we phone Harman and we say, Harman, we've got these 4 orders, we're still waiting for them. What is actually happening? So all of that is actually on here, RFCs. As I showed you yesterday, uncollected, you see Harman walking towards you and you're now wanting to give them all of those RFCs that they haven't picked up as yet. You can actually do your uncollected RFCs for a supplier. A list of the journal entries that you have actually made. Yeah, your BEE. This is your cash book spend. So all of that is actually you just basically will go through your creditor report, but this is your cash box spend, and that's the one where I was telling you about, where you can see how much of a level 5 you've, how much money you've spent on level 5, how much you've spent on a level 1, and all of that. Obviously, if it doesn't come, if you don't put anything in, Dr. Smash automatically defaults all suppliers to a level 9, which is the worst one. So you do need to go in and put them onto the correct levels that they are on. Right, so that is the creditor side of things. With financial training, there's a couple of things that I have to go through first before I can actually go through it on your Dr. Smash package itself. So, financial training. There's 2 sections to Dr. Smash. There is the Dr. Smash package, and there is the financial package. The Dr. Smash package, that is your invoicing, your receipting, credit notes and debit notes, which is your debtors. And then there is also your purchasing of all of your parts, your RFCs, and your reconciliation of your creditors. That is your creditor side of things, and you run your month end at the end of each month. That is the Dr. Smash package. Dr. Smash does have a financial package as well. That 2 are in one package. So it's not a completely separate package, but they are considered separate, if that makes any sense. The financials are what we say is your cash book, your general ledger, trial balance, balance sheets, and VAT reconciliations. That is what we consider to be financials. Right, okay, so Mr. B, our main programmer, he designed the financial package to be as automated as possible. Because he's not an accountant, he was not an accountant, and he's a panel beater, and he decided most panel beaters are not accountants, and he wanted to make our financial package as easy as possible. If an error is made, we go back and we correct it. A journal entry does not need to be made. Accountants enjoy doing journal entries and things like that. We just go back and correct the error in the Dr. Smash program. Right, so it has been designed for owners and not for accountants. An accountant enjoys pastel because it has been designed around accountants. This our one is actually designed for a panel beater, so You get the information that you require, you know what is actually going on, but you haven't had to do the nitty-gritties of what accountants actually do, so you get an overview of what your business is actually doing.
Essentially,
Right.
what Christine means is, as much as it's not written for an accountant can use it. It just doesn't require the in-depth knowledge that an accountant needs, and it doesn't give them the I'm going to use the flexibility of what pastel does. It's designed for the average person who doesn't know accounting, so we try to reduce the amount of mistakes that they can make, or ways that they can cook the books, essentially. So we obviously have got the pastel export, so you can send it to pastel for your accountant who prefers to be able to work with it. But we've tried to make Dr. Smash itself as simple as possible to reduce errors and reduce the knowledge requirements to be able to use it, because the standard panel beater doesn't always have that knowledge.
All right. So this is what our income statement will actually look like. You can't see the screens very well, but you have your trading income, your work in progress. All of that is pulled through from the program, your operating expenses, any other expenses, and at the end, you'll actually have your profit or loss for that particular month. So everything is in the Dr. Smash that you actually need it to do. Right, your chart of accounts or your general ledger. I'm sure a lot of you remember these T accounts from school. And T accounts is what actually your general ledger is actually all about. So we use the same accounting principles of what school T accounts were actually all about. Right, this is what our general ledger screen actually looks like. But I will be going through in depth with that with you just now. So we can actually edit any of our general ledger items as to what we wanted to actually be able to do and say. The facility is there. I will be going through those with you. I'm actually going to go through this one with you actually on the computer. Right, so let's actually do a stop share and go into Dr. Smash now. Right, okay, so I'll go to my admin, I'll go to my financials, and I'm going to go to my general ledger. Right, it's just going through and it's actually opening up all of my general ledger for me. Yeah, so I just got to add up all of those accounts. Right, so with your debtor invoices that you actually make, for every R1, 100 Rand that you invoice out in Dr. Smash, the first place that the computer will actually go to is it will put that 100 Rand into your general ledger for debtor invoices, which is account number 1110. It will then take that same 100 Rand from your trading income and put it into account number 1100. So 11, that one there, is your trading income header. It then goes from that header, it then goes into 1000. 1000 is actually your main header of your incomes. So that 100 Rand has now gone into debtors, into your trading income, into your income total. From there, at the moment, it's on the profit and loss account. It now goes to 3299. So we find 3299, and it has now put it into your current profit and loss account. It is now on your balance sheet. It goes then from there, it now goes to 3290. 3290 is your accumulated profit and loss. It then goes to 3200, which is your retained earnings. Then it goes to 3000, which is your equities, and that is where it was now stop. So that is why we say with the Dr. Smash program, it is as automated as possible. all you had to do was write up your invoice, and it has actually now updated the income statement, and it has actually updated your balance sheet for you automatically. The reason I'm actually showing you that is because you've got things at the bottom here, like your, of course, I went up and down quite a bit. Right, your expenses. Let's just find it. Telephone. Right, my telephone. If I go into my telephone accounts, I then have all my different telephones that I actually want on the system. And then from there, it goes through and it puts it into your communications total. And then from there, it goes and it puts it into all the different places until it becomes your balance sheet as well. So if you are wanting to add anything on to your general ledger account, we just need to make sure that when we add it on, that it is actually pointing to all the correct places in the on our general ledger. So adding on to your general ledger is, if you know how it works, you can add it on yourself. Otherwise, we ask you to please phone us and we will help you to actually add on items onto your general ledger. Right, if you're wanting to edit anything that is on our general ledger, we just go into edit, and we don't want to call it auto page. We now want to call it, I'm just going to say Vodacom. All right, this one here, whatever that comes out at, that one is the one that is the wording that is used on your income statement, whereas this one here is a short description as to what is used when you are actually writing up your cash book. All right, so those are normally the only two screens that you actually have to, the two fields that you change. Everything else should stay exactly the same. If you want, you can say it's a no VAT account, as in whatever figures you put in here, it must not charge VAT. So if it was for salaries, you wouldn't have VAT. If you, your fuel and diesel and things like that, you don't have VAT. So you would tick that box so it doesn't actually charge VAT on that particular item. Right, so that is how you will do your general ledger. And once you have set up your general ledger as to what you're wanting to show, financials is actually pretty simple. The big thing is actually just getting the financials, but when we install in Dr. Smash, we have given you the basics. So a lot of it is already there for you. You might just need to change one or two items. You don't use Vodacom, you use Cell C. So you might wanting to change the words to what you actually do use. That's all you really need to actually do, because majority of the items are already there. Right, okay, so how do we start doing our financials? The financials is literally your cash book. That is all financials actually is writing up your cash book. I just want to go and check my defaults because I did have a question. So I need to just check that my defaults are set for the question. Financials, right. I'm not, see, you can either do a single creditor has been used, or if that is unticked, it allows you to do multiple creditors have actually been set. And so I'm going to do mine as multiple. Also, auto allocate receipts. That's another one of the things that we're going to go through at this point before we start. Is yesterday when we were going through, we went through processing and we went to receipts. We added on our batch. When the computer catches up, add a receipt batch. Right, you will see down here I didn't point it out to you yesterday because it is part of financials. But when you make this receipt, you are going to allocate it to which bank. You can choose, you have all of these different banks actually on your, you have set them up in your financials. I will show you how to do that. But you are now saying that this receipt, the money is going to actually go into your ABSA account, or it can actually be, if it was cash and you are wanting to put it into your top drawer so that you can use it for any suppliers or anything like that, you can actually have what we call our cash on hand bank. Money coming in, any receipts, cash that has actually been paid to you, and then as you're paying out, you are putting it in through your bank, in inverted commas, your bank, which is actually your top drawer. So that was what we call our cash on hand. So you can do the same sort of thing here as well. So when we make our receipt, it automatically will write up these receipts to our ABSA bank at this point. So let's, okay, so if it, no, do you want to delete? Yes, we do, because I don't want to make it. Right, so that is when you're making your receipt, so you don't have duplicate work, you can auto-allocate. Admin, financials, and we want to do our cash book. Right, these are all of our banks that we actually have. If you're wanting to add on a new bank, literally just click on add, and you write in the banking details as to what it is, bank test 5. Right. And the computer has automatically written up a lot of codes and things like that for you, because it knows that that is where they go 99% of the time. You have the facility of going in and changing them if you want, but you should not really need to. The only one you might need to go into is this top one, is what bank account are you actually going to put it into. Right, so you go to your lookup, it calls up your general ledger, you then find the bank that you are going to be putting it against, and it now knows that whatever you put into this cash book must now go against that particular bank. So we go to bank 5 and we say select. Right, so that is how you add on your new banks. Right, here again, you have actually got your pastel account number, so that if you export, anything that comes into this particular bank must go against what account number in pastel. I'm just cancelling that. Right, I'm going to go into my Nedbank. I'm going to select my banks. Right, the computer has automatically gone into November because I am an accounting month of November. Any receipts that I have actually made, and it said that it must go to my Nedbank account, have automatically come through on here as well. But at the moment, it is unreconciled because I have not reconciled it back to my cash, to my bank statement. So there are 2 sections to a cash book. There is your unreconciled, and there is your reconciled as to what has gone through the bank. So those are the 2 sections that we have. At the moment, if it's unticked, it is showing unreconciled. If I click on my ticked, if I tick it, it now shows me what has gone through the bank at this point in time. Right, so ours is actually a blank screen. At the beginning of November, we had that amount of money actually in our bank account, because that is what October actually finished off on. I have a bank statement physically written up in front of me. I have printed it out. You get given what your end balance actually is. At this point, obviously, I don't know because I don't have a physical bank statement in front of me. Right, so are now wanting to, on their bank statement, they say that I owe bank charges. I can go to my direct reconcile and, right, what is the date? It's on the 1st. It's not a check, it is an other out. And I go to my bank charges, and I can now choose how to actually break up my bank charges if I wanted to, as to what their figures actually are. Yeah, I can choose transaction charge. Right, you've got your reference. That is for you, just a note for yourself if you want to. How much is it? It is 500 Rand. It does your VAT for you automatically. But if we had ticked that box that said no VAT, it would not have actually organized your VAT for you. If you zero the VAT, that's what the get VAT is all about. It allows it will rework it back out again for you. Your beneficiary. Remember, we have that BEE report that you can do. If you have a tick box facility actually in your defaults where you can say that they have to put in a beneficiary. It has to be on the system. Or you can do it that they don't have to write up the beneficiary. Obviously, if you're doing BEE, it is recommended that you do tick to say that they have to write up a beneficiary, and all they do is they now go to their lookup, they find Absa Bank, double click on it, and they can then write in any additional notes around as to what this is actually all about. And we click on our OK button. It allows us to keep going back and adding on more items. So we can keep reconciling, adding to our reconciling list. When we are finished, we just click on the cancel, and it now takes us through back to our cash book at this point. It started on 23. There's our 500 Rand. So now it has brought it down by 500 Rand as to what we have in our bank. And literally, that is all we are doing, is you are actually adding on what you have, what expenses you have done. If you have now received money and you want to actually pull up one of those receipts, you can add from a selected list. You go to your receipts. There's all my receipts, and I literally double click on the receipts that I have actually received. Right, I received all of these. When I have finished, I then just go to my close window. I can actually also have debit orders. These particular people have not actually added on a debit order. But your debit orders will automatically come through each month, so that you don't have to sit and rewrite your debit orders all the time. You can have transfers that you have set up. You know you're going to be paying them. You're getting ready to actually pay, but it hasn't gone through the bank as yet. So you can actually add it onto here. And then when you get round to reconciling, you can actually then select it from these lists. So these are all the checks and debit orders and things like that that you can actually put onto the system. Let's go in and do a continually add. So I can just add on. Right, I'm going to do a debit order, and I'm going to say it is actually sundry, and I'm going to pay my rent. Right, go to my lookup. Hill Street Liquors can be my rent. and I write in my notes and click on OK. Right, so it's now here actually on my under my debit orders. It will now come through every month that I have a rent to actually pay. But when it has come through on my bank and I'm now wanting to actually use it for my bank, all I do is I will double click on it and it has now put it in to say that it has gone through the actual bank itself. Right. We also have the facility of moving money between your different cash books. So this cash book here, if I go to my Inter account, select a bank to transfer the funds to. So it's coming out of Nedbank and it's going to go to where? So I now go and I say it's going to go to ABSA. I say select how much. And why. Right, and click on OK. So it will now put that transaction and it's telling you that if I went to go and have a look at ABSA, ABSA will now have a line in it that says, I have transferred money and it's part of your receipting, and that money has actually now gone into it. So that's what it's saying. All right, so I'm now back at my screen and it's now going through. There's my transfer that I did, there's my rent and all my receipts. So at this point in time, I have 12,000 Rand actually in my bank account. So if my figure here was supposed to be 2580, I would now get my green tick to say I have actually balanced my bank statement as at that point. Right. I am going through some of the other little buttons and things that we have. Is if on a reconciled item, this receipt here, if you delete it and you go to delete reconciled item, you are deleting it totally. It is not in the cash book at all. If it is a case of I double clicked on it by mistake and it shouldn't actually be here, but I do need to use it at a later stage, that is what send to unreconciled is actually all about. So if I highlight it and I say send to unreconciled, it disappears off of here. I am now don't balance. But if I go back to my add from selected list, I go back to my receipt, it is now back there waiting for me to actually double click on it again and put it back against my bank. Right. So that's what your delete and send to is all about. With debit orders, okay, rent is not a good example, but there are some debit orders that actually change every month. It is the same debit order, but the figures actually change, and that is what your edit is all about. It allows you to go in and actually change your receipt, your figures to what you want it for this particular month. Okay, I am now going to answer that question about paying of a creditor. So I'm going to go to my debtors reconcile add. Right, yes, I did checks. I'm going to go to my creditors and I paid a total, 100,000. Right. You would have noticed that what's happened the minute I said creditors, it actually came up and it's put this button here at the bottom, your split item details. It now knows you're paying 100,000. It is going against creditors, but you're now wanting to split that 100,000 down into different payments that you have actually made. It could also be, split items could also be you paying the municipality. Yes, you're paying them one check, but you actually are paying for electricity and you want to keep that figure separate to your water, to your rates. So you need to actually come in and actually break it down on your split items so that you can now see that, yes, you paid one check, but it's going to the 3 different departments. On our creditors, we are saying add a new split item. Right, it automatically does creditors. You go to your lookup, you find who you are paying. Okay, let's do Harmon because it should still be there. I know my LD Auto Boys is finished because I've reconciled them already, but let's do Harmon so we can go and have a look. And Harmon, I paid him 6,000 Rand. Right. If there is any discount on that 6,000 Rand, I can put it in here to say that 235 Rand of it is actually a discount. I can put that in as well. Right, I go to my next supplier, go to my lookup. Who is it? Okay, I've just clicked on account suppliers because I only want to see my accounts that are coming up. So I can try and find somebody that, let's do Capital Auto Parts. Right, and I have paid them the 4,000 Rand. And I'm going to put in 600 as a discount. Right, click on OK. So you literally go in, you break up. Did I say 4? I said 100, eh? Okay, right. I'm changing it down to 10. Right, no, okay, let's do one more at 90. Then we go to our lookup. Okay, and 90. Right, okay. I now click on Make Reconciliation Lines. If I click on that, it's going to automatically go and put it into creditors, into my creditors reconciling to say that I have actually paid these checks. Right, so that is where you'll make reconciliation lines, and I can close my window. I balance back to my 100,000, so I'm happy, so I click on my OK button. Right, I've now put myself into major overdraft, but anyway. Right, so that is your cash book. You literally are rewriting your bank statement. When you have actually finished doing all of this and everything balances, we get our minus 87024.20. Right, we've got our green tick at the top to say that everything has actually balanced. If this was now finished, the month end has actually been finished and all the rest of it, we have balanced the whole lot. We actually then will go in and we can now import it into the Dr. Smash income statement and things like that. Right. At this point, November, I'm still in the month of November. My Dr. Smash package is still in the month of November. So I cannot actually do my final cash book because I am still in the month of November. Your cash book can actually only be finished when your Dr. Smash package is in the following month. So you have to run your Dr. Smash month end. Your cash book can be done because generally a couple of days into the new month, you actually now finish your cash book for November. But you ran your November month end on the 30th of November. But by the 5th of December, you have now finished your November cash book. That is when you can now do your income statement for November. And what will then happen is that gap here will have a button that says close this month or commit this month, and it allows me to commit it, and then I can do my income statements from there. Right, so that is what your cash book is actually all about. But I'm wanting to go and show you now. If I go back to my creditors reconcile. Okay, there was, okay, we did one for Harmon. Right, cash book entry. It tells you what your discount actually was and that I paid my 6,000 Rand. You see how it is actually written them back up in red here to say that this is the transactions that I have actually physically done. That is what has come through from your cash book. I can show you the Belco as well. The Belco was the 90,000. Right, there's my 90,000 that has actually come up, written in red because it is part of this month's transactions. So anything in red means it was actually done this month. Right, and then of course we also did our LD auto parts, but I think you get the idea that everything has actually come through. If I had written in a discount as well as to what the settlement discount was, it writes up both lines for us, both the payment and the discount actually comes through. Right, so hopefully those answers your questions. Right, how do I do my income statement and things like that now? If I close off my cash books, unfortunately the data on this is not going to allow me to do it, but I go to export to financials. This is what it has actually done so far, so I'm wanting to add on a new batch. Right. When you go in to do your exporting, the reason we say exporting it to financials is that's why we are saying it's two, we like to say it's two separate packages, is you now need to combine the Dr. Smash, debtors, creditors, work in progress, and all the rest of it with your cash book and actually pull the two sets of information into one. So that is what we are actually doing here when we go in and do our financial export. We are exporting our debtors, our purchases, our cash book, receipts, RFCs, our cash book debtors, our cash book creditors, or credits, and our cash book creditors. So all of that is actually being pulled through. We don't like to include cash book suppliers because cash book suppliers is actually also part of this one here, cash book credits. Right, so in this top one, export your purchases, is are you including your cash suppliers? No, you are not including your cash suppliers in here because you are paying them here. Does that make sense? So if you tick that one, you should actually untick that one. But then you might also have some other creditors that were not, that didn't go through your system. So it's actually easier to leave the way Dr. Smash does it, which is this is what you have paid for this particular month. Right, and you now just say commit your batch. It is looking for the accounting month that it's going to do, July. So if we're wanting to actually go in and do our October, although I know there's no information actually in October, but okay, there's no cash book for October. Right. So we say commit. It will then run through and it will actually do your full import for you. Right. Once it has actually finished doing that, this screen will disappear and we will now be able to go into our admin financials and do our reports. And all of our reports will actually now pull through the income statement, the balance sheet, our trial balance, all of that will actually be pulled through. It is at the moment, it is pulling through our debtors from the actual Dr. Smash package of all the invoices and things that we did at this stage. It will also pull through your VAT reconciliation screen, where it has taken all of your invoices that you have done, minus all your credit notes, worked out all of your VATs, and has actually put it onto a VAT reconciliation form for you and told you what you should actually be paying. Right, so if we go to our financials, our reports, let's have a look at our period return. And it is looking for the last 2 months. So we want to do it from which 2 periods. So we go to lookup and we want from September. So it will do September and October. And it will now fill in all of our figures for us on here. If you're wanting to see how did it actually arrive at those, we can go to our print buttons and you can see it'll be a list of all of your sale invoices, credit notes and debit notes that you've actually made for the month of September and for the month of October. A quick, simple, easier way of actually having a look is our support spreadsheet that we have. So it would have brought through all of our invoices, our RHCs that we've made and things like that. It will show you the actual breakdown and how it has actually done it. It brought through September's figures, October's figures, and given you the actual totals. It does your invoices for you. This is your purchases and your income that you've actually done. So it shows you exactly how it has worked out those figures.
Thank you very much for joining us. There will be some more webinars coming up as they are processed through our graphics department. So those will go onto our website, onto our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. We hope to see you soon. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe so you can get a notification for each one of those videos as they arrive. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Cheers.